The convoy of 20 Red Ball Express trucks rumbled into the edge of a French village in the summer of 1944. Corporal Clifton Lucas gripped the wheel. Something was wrong. Too quiet. Too still. Suddenly, a rifle shot cracked like a whip, shattering the silence. Then came the storm, a hail of bullets tearing into the convoy. The 10-ton semi-trailers veered wildly, mud spraying as drivers fought to escape the ambush. Lucas wrenched open his door and threw himself into a ditch just as his truck was shredded by gunfire. The ground shook with the impact of German 88mm shells as the truckers took cover behind anything they could. A gasoline truck took a direct hit, erupting in a fireball that lit up the sky. The chain reaction was catastrophic. Truck after truck ignited, explosions rocking the farmland as Lucas clawed through the mud, heart hammering. Around him, his fellow drivers were being gunned down. Non-combatants, they'd been told, just truckers. But just as they were about to be overwhelmed, American Shermans from the 6th Armored Division burst through the tree line, cannons thundering as they ripped the German artillery to pieces. Lucas staggered to his feet, rifle in hand. But he and the other truckers didn't return to their trucks. Together, they turned toward the village. The Germans were about to find out the secret of the Red Ball Express. They weren't just delivery boys. The men of the Red Ball Express went to unimaginable lengths to keep Allied forces supplied and moving after D-Day, proving that logistics can win wars. In War Thunder, you can experience the same intensity of battlefield strategy, logistics, and combat firsthand. This free-to-play game, available on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and now on mobile devices, is the ultimate vehicle combat experience. Take command of over 2,500 meticulously detailed vehicles from 10 nations spanning biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to the tanks, ships, and jets of today. Whether you're maneuvering across battle-scarred landscapes or dominating the skies, War Thunder delivers unmatched realism with authentic soundscapes, incredible vehicle detail, and dynamic combat mechanics. Its advanced damage model takes realism to the next level. Every vehicle is fully simulated, with individual components like engines, fuel tanks, and weapons susceptible to damage, and with the impressive X-ray view, you can see precisely where your shots land and how they disable your opponent's ability to fight back. Choose how you play with arcade, realistic, and simulator modes. Here at World War II on TV, we love customizing our fleets with historical camouflages and unit markings, including some iconic World War II insignias, like the Screaming Eagle's legendary design. Join over 70 million players worldwide and command your fleet today. For our new and returning PC and console players that haven't played in the last 6 months, use the first link to grab a special bonus pack for limited time only. It includes multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive Eagle of Valor decorator, 100,000 silver lions, and 7 days of premium account. And if you want to take the battlefield everywhere you go, click the mobile link and begin playing today. The largest amphibious invasion in the history of warfare had unfolded on June 6, 1944. By late July, the Allies had shattered the German defenses in Normandy and were surging eastward. Towns fell in days as the Allies advanced at unprecedented speeds. It was a breakout so sudden, so decisive, that even the Allied High Command was caught off guard. Things were going well, perhaps too well. Planners had predicted a relatively slow-paced offensive, allowing for the systematic construction of base, intermediate, and forward area supply depots. Yet reality struck like a hammer blow. How would they supply an army moving faster than anyone had planned for? The problem wasn't just immense, it was of their own making. In the lead-up to D-Day, the Allies bombed France's railway infrastructure into oblivion, ensuring the Germans couldn't reinforce or supply their forces in Normandy. The destruction worked perfectly against the enemy, but left the Allies without a tried-and-true logistical lifeline. Ports were no salvation either. Every major harbour in northern France was still in German hands, and capturing them would take weeks if not months. With ships unable to dock and trains obliterated, the burden fell entirely on trucks. But even trucks couldn't keep pace with the relentless rate of the ever-receding front. By August 1944, the situation reached a breaking point. Front lines expanded faster than trucks could deliver supplies. Ammunition convoys arrived at depots to find them abandoned, relocated forward in the ever-shifting battlefield. Historian Lyda Mayo described the chaos, quote, "Sometimes ammunition convoys were diverted to points as much as 20 miles beyond their original destinations, and when they arrived at a new area, they would have to wait while it was cleared of enemy troops." The strain on men and machines was unrelenting. In one instance, drivers of the 35th Infantry Division spent over 42 hours behind the wheel, traveling more than 225 miles just to bring supplies to a front that seemed always out of reach. Exhausted, they turned back for yet another run. The Allied breakout was turning into a logistical nightmare. Every mile gained by advancing soldiers demanded mountains of food, fuel, and ammunition. A single division devoured 35 tons of rations daily. By early August, more than 72,000 tons of ammunition had been ordered south of the Normandy beaches. Petroleum, oil, and lubricants, or POL requirements for Patton's Third Army alone doubled to 600,000 gallons per day. Patton summed up the situation, quote, "At the present time, our chief difficulty is not the Germans, but gasoline. If they would give me enough gas, I could go all the way to Berlin, bitte sei." The system was buckling. If the flow of supplies stopped, the Allied advance would grind to a halt, and the Germans, retreating now, would dig in. The fight could devolve into a brutal World War I-style deadlock. The stakes were nothing less than the momentum of the war itself. The options were clear. Continue pursuing the retreating Germans, risk running out of supplies, or stop the offensive and risk losing all momentum. On August 12th, Eisenhower made his call and gave Bradley and Patton and British General Bernard L. Montgomery the green light to cross the Seine in pursuit of the fleeing German army without any established supply lines behind them. He would improvise. On August 23rd, Eisenhower and his top commanders convened an emergency meeting. The solution they devised, drafted, and launched in under 36 hours was unlike anything seen before. It was a revolution in warfare sustainment. They called it the Red Ball Express. Just 2 days after its inception, the Red Ball Express roared to life. Named after the term for urgent freight in railroad logistics, the operation mobilized 76 truck companies and 3,358 vehicles, mostly deuce-and-a-halves nicknamed Jimmies, requisitioned from across the Army. Its goal, deliver 75,000 tons of supplies, including fuel, to depots in the Chartres-la-Loupe-Dreux Triangle, 125 miles from St. Lo, by early September. There was no precedent for a motorized supply operation of this scale. They were improvising logistics history. The narrow roads of Normandy demanded drastic measures. Generals Richmond and Ayres implemented a one-way system to streamline traffic, and by September 1st, 132 truck companies with 5,958 vehicles were employed. With French railroads still broken, the operation was extended to September 4th, delivering a staggering 89,939 tons of supplies. Bringing order to the operation was a monumental task of its own. Military traffic branch officers set up checkpoints at key crossroads and towns, managing convoys like air traffic controllers. They logged destinations, truck weights, fuel, repairs, and food. The system worked, but it was punishing. Drivers, mostly African-American soldiers, faced grueling conditions. Speed and weight limits were ignored as the truckers raced to meet demand, often driving beyond exhaustion. Relief drivers were hastily assigned, many with no prior experience behind the wheel. Accidents piled up. Even the locals learned to fear the roaring trucks barreling through their towns, and yet the drivers kept going. A saying spread through the ranks. Quotes, "Trucks might break down, but Red Bull drivers don't break." In early September, General Bradley had a bold plan, an all-out assault on the Siegfried Line, aiming to cross the Rhine within a week. General Eisenhower hesitated, knowing the Red Ball was already stretched thin, but gave the green light. To handle the pressure, they launched a second phase of the Express with 2 new routes that crisscrossed like a racetrack. The supply chain now stretched nearly 700 miles from Normandy to Kherson, with convoys running grueling 54-hour round trips. Strict rules governed operations. Convoys moved in units of 40 to 48 trucks, maintaining 60-yard intervals and adhering to a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit, though drivers frequently pushed faster. 10-minute breaks every 2 hours allowed for checks and repairs, while nighttime operations used dimmed lights to avoid German air attacks. The logistics were a masterpiece of coordination. Engineers repaired roads and bridges, MPs directed traffic, and petroleum specialists operated along the route. Trucks were never idle, even on return trips, hauling salvaged shell casings, POWs, wounded soldiers, and even the remains of the dead. The Germans couldn't believe it. The same Wehrmacht that once stunned the world with its lightning-fast warfare was now shocked as American forces moved faster and farther than they'd ever thought possible. To them, it looked like clockwork, but for the men on the ground, it was anything but. The Red Ball Express was barely controlled chaos, held together by grit, sweat, and sheer determination. Brutal sleep deprivation, exhaustion, truck breakdowns, and ever-changing routes were the least of the Red Ball Express truckers' problems. Though officially categorized as non-combatant servicemen, no one had informed the Germans. German POWs, frequently transported back from the front, became a persistent threat. Sabotage was rampant. Trucks were tampered with, and jerry cans were left open in the rain, causing fuel pipes to freeze in the winter cold. Still, the truckers, tasked with supplying fast-advancing armored units, faced the most harrowing situations and often found themselves in the middle of the battlefield. The rapid Allied advance left German forces scattered, creating pockets of resistance. Convoys were forced to fight their way through enemy-held territory to maintain the crucial supply line to the front. Ambushes were constant. Stranded German fighters and forward-line troops targeted the convoys when they could intercept them. One such convoy, nearing its destination, was suddenly engulfed in small arms fire. Trucks swerved violently to evade the barrage, but the lead vehicle's wheels were shredded and its engine disabled. As the remaining trucks retreated under heavy fire, the driver and his assistant abandoned the damaged vehicle, dodging bullets as they ran for safety. Tragically, the assistant was struck and killed. The driver, narrowly escaping with his life, walked for miles through hostile territory before finally reaching American lines. Danger also came from above. Charles Wecko, a lieutenant with the 666th QM Truck Company, recalled a harrowing encounter with a German fighter plane. While moving through the blacked-out city of Liège with a load of TNT, the convoy was suddenly illuminated by flares. Wecko described the chilling moment, quote, "Flares, with their cold, revealing glare, gave us the first intimation that a German plane was stalking us." The enemy plane swooped low, unleashing a torrent of machine gun fire that tore into the convoy, taking the lives of several men instantly. Wecko vividly remembered the haunting sound of bullets striking the trucks. Quote, "Stones being hurled against corrugated metal." Surviving drivers scrambled from their vehicles, seeking cover among the city's ruins. The German warplane circled back for a second strafing run, its guns blazing once more. Just as it seemed the convoy would be entirely destroyed, nearby American 90mm anti-aircraft guns opened fire. The night sky erupted in orange flashes as the flak found its target, sending the enemy fighter crashing to the ground in flames. Many truckers of the Red Ball Express welcomed combat. Segregation had relegated African-American servicemen to support roles, keeping them from frontline duty, but they found ways to fight anyway. One such moment came on the outskirts of Brest, where Corporal Clifton Lucas's convoy was ambushed in a sudden storm of enemy fire. Bullets tore through the trucks, shattering windows and ripping through cargo. Drivers swerved wildly, trying to escape the carnage, while others scrambled for cover. Lucas dove into a ditch just as his truck disintegrated under a hail of gunfire. Behind him, the night erupted in fireballs as trucks, overloaded with gasoline jerry cans, exploded one by one under German artillery fire. Pinned down and vastly outgunned, the truckers refused to break. They held their ground against the relentless assault until Sherman tanks from the 6th Armored Division arrived, their cannons silencing the German artillery positions. But what happened next stunned even the battle-hardened tank crews. From the mud and smoke, Lucas and his fellow truckers emerged, not to retreat, but to charge. Colonel Charles Lanham later recalled the scene. Quote, "Truck drivers were leaving their trucks and whooping it up after the German soldiers all over the landscape." For many African-American soldiers, the Red Ball Express became their path to the fight, a chance to defy the limitations placed upon them. When the Germans launched their desperate Ardennes offensive, better known as the Battle of the Bulge, the Red Ball Express once again proved crucial. This time it wasn't just about supplying the front lines, but also denying resources to the enemy. The German war machine was running on fumes, with tanks that barely had enough fuel for a one-way trip. As German forces surged forward, threatening key supply depots, thousands of gallons of fuel had to be evacuated from forward areas to prevent it from falling into enemy hands. Red Ball truckers sprang into action, moving critical fuel supplies to safety under relentless pressure. Their efforts deprived the Germans of the gas their tanks desperately needed to continue their breakthroughs. By the end of the Battle of the Bulge, the Red Ball Express had reached its final stop. The Allies captured key ports like Antwerp, easing the logistical strain and reducing reliance on the long, treacherous overland supply routes. The German front lines were pushed back, shortening the distance between depots and combat units. With its mission complete, the Red Ball Express came to an end, but its legacy was monumental. Over its operation, the Red Ball Express delivered more than 412,000 tons of supplies to Allied forces in France. A fleet of over 6,000 trucks, operated by 23,000 drivers and mechanics, worked around the clock, covering up to 400 miles round-trip on dangerous routes. Their efforts sustained the rapid Allied advance, ensuring frontline troops had the fuel, ammunition and food they needed to push the Germans all the way to Berlin. General Dwight D. Eisenhower himself praised the operation, stating, quote, "To you, drivers and mechanics and your officers, who keep the Red Ball vehicles constantly moving, I wish to express my deep appreciation. Without it, the advance across France could not have been made." Play War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile devices. Use our links below to try the mobile version of the game, or score a bonus pack with premium vehicles, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account if you are a new or returning player after 6 months on PC and consoles. Join the fight today.